When faced with images of atrocity and when faced with images of atrocity and the usually hidden, brutal reality of the world, is it better to avoid it as much as possible, or is it better to seek it out and to get one used to seeing it?
This depends on the individual, their emotional resilience, and their purpose in engaging with such imagery. Avoidance. Shielding oneself from such images can be a way to maintain mental well-being, especially if exposure leads to anxiety, despair, or numbness. Constant exposure can desensitize someone in an unhealthy way or cause emotional distress without meaningful action. Exposure. Seeking out such imagery can cultivate awareness, prevent ignorance, and help one confront reality without illusion. However, repeated exposure without purpose or emotional preparation can lead to apathy, burnout, or even a warped sense of reality. Balance. The healthiest approach might be measured exposure with intent, seeking awareness while maintaining one's ability to function and act meaningfully. One should reflect on whether seeing such images serves knowledge, action, or understanding, rather than mere consumption. What is your own reasoning for considering this question?
Guess my reason.
Given your analytical nature and preference for deep, precise discussions, you're likely considering this question from a philosophical or psychological standpoint, rather than personal distress. You might be reflecting on the nature of desensitization, whether exposure to brutality strengthens or weakens the human psyche, or how individuals should engage with the darker aspects of reality. It could also tie into themes of morality and awareness, whether ignorance is bliss or whether true understanding requires facing uncomfortable truths. Maybe it's connected to something you're writing, or perhaps you're questioning how people, including yourself, should interact with a world where such images exist and circulate. Am I close?
I believe exposure will strengthen the mind, but I wonder if I may lose my humanity, or my ability to empathy, and turn out worse than being ignorant or scared of how ugly the world truly is.
That's a profound and difficult dilemma. On one hand, exposure to brutal realities can indeed strengthen the mind, steeling oneself against fear, naivety, and shock. It allows a person to face the world as it is without illusions. But on the other hand, repeated exposure risks numbing the emotional response, leading to apathy, or worse, a detached, almost indifferent view of suffering. Losing your ability to empathize would be a real danger, but the key lies in how you process what you see. If exposure turns into mere consumption, if the horrors become just another thing to witness without internal reflection, then there is a risk of desensitization in the worst way. However, if you maintain a conscious effort to acknowledge the weight of what you see, to keep questioning, feeling, and understanding, then you can cultivate resilience without sacrificing your humanity. Perhaps the real strength is not just in being able to look at the horrors of the world, but in being able to do so without letting them erode your capacity for empathy.
Are soldiers or police officers able to maintain their humanity after all the things they see and have done? How do they, those who succeed?
Some do, some don't. It depends on the person, their mindset, their support system, and how they process what they go through. Soldiers and police officers witness some of the worst aspects of humanity: violence, death, suffering, and cruelty. The sheer weight of it can break a person, harden them into cold detachment, or in some cases, deepen their sense of duty and compassion. How those who succeed maintain their humanity. 1. Compartmentalization, but not suppression. They learn to separate their emotions from the moment without burying them entirely. They acknowledge what they've seen, but don't let it consume them. There's a difference between bottling emotions and setting them aside to process later. 2. A strong sense of purpose. Those who hold on to a clear reason for why they serve, whether it's protecting others, maintaining order, or standing up for what they believe in, can endure the horrors without becoming nihilistic or apathetic. 3. Support systems. Those with strong friendships, families, or a tight-knit unit often fare better. The ability to talk to someone who understands, someone who has been through it, prevents isolation and emotional decay. 4. Finding meaning in small acts. Many find that despite all the darkness, small moments of kindness, justice, or simply doing what's right help them stay human. Helping a child, saving a life, bringing comfort to someone in distress, these moments keep them tethered to their humanity. 5. A sense of humor. Dark humor is often a coping mechanism. It's not always pretty, but it helps people survive emotionally. It's a way to acknowledge the horror without letting it consume them. 6. Engaging in the normal world. Those who immerse themselves in family life, hobbies, art, or nature after witnessing brutality often find balance. They remind themselves that the world is not only darkness. 7. Faith or philosophy. Some turn to religion, some to philosophy, others to personal codes of honor. A structured worldview that gives meaning to suffering helps them endure without becoming cynical or broken. Those who lose themselves. Many who don't process their experiences well become emotionally detached, excessively violent, or numb. Some turn to substance abuse to cope. Others develop PTSD and struggle with guilt, nightmares, and emotional breakdowns. Some lose their sense of purpose and become bitter or disillusioned. The line between staying human and losing oneself is thin. The strongest aren't necessarily those who feel nothing, but those who find a way to feel without being consumed by it.
What is so wrong about being desensitized? Is it not better to be as such?
It depends on what kind of desensitization you mean. If you mean emotional resilience, the ability to face horrors without breaking, that's a strength. But if you mean emotional numbness, where nothing moves you anymore, that's danger. Why people think desensitization is a problem. 1. Loss of empathy. If you stop feeling for others, you might lose sight of why suffering matters. You risk treating people as objects rather than beings with value. This can lead to indifference, cruelty, or moral detachment. 2. Apathy toward injustice. When nothing shocks or disturbs you anymore, you might stop caring whether something is right or wrong. Atrocities become just another thing rather than something that should be opposed. 3. Personal hollowing. Some who become completely desensitized report feeling empty. They may not be suffering, but they're not living either. They feel disconnected from life, relationships, and themselves. 4. Slippery slope to callousness. The line between I can handle it and I no longer care is thin. Many who become desensitized end up treating others with casual cruelty, even if they don't intend to. But is it better to be desensitized? If it means emotional control, the ability to face horror without being paralyzed, then yes, that's useful. If it means becoming numb and indifferent, then no, because what keeps people human is the ability to still recognize and fight against what is evil, even if they are no longer shocked by it. The ideal state is stoic compassion, to see horror, acknowledge it, but not let it consume or erode your humanity.
Why does suffering matter?
Suffering matters because it defines what it means to be human. It is the measure of what we value, the test of our resilience, and the foundation of our capacity for empathy. Without suffering, there would be no understanding of joy, no reason for morality, and no true depth to human experience. Why suffering matters. 1. It gives meaning to joy. Without suffering, happiness would be meaningless. Pleasure without contrast is mere numbness. The highest joys in life often come after enduring hardship. 2. It fosters empathy and connection. Suffering allows people to relate to one another. Those who have suffered deeply often become the most compassionate because they understand what it is to hurt. 3. It tests and strengthens character. Hardship reveals what a person is truly made of. People who have never suffered may lack depth, resilience, and wisdom. True strength isn't found in avoiding pain, but in enduring and growing from it. 4. It defines morality. Much of morality is built around reducing unnecessary suffering. If suffering didn't matter, neither would justice, mercy, or kindness. The very idea of right and wrong is tied to the presence or absence of suffering. 5. It drives change. Many of history's greatest transformations, social, technological, philosophical, arose from suffering. It forces people to seek solutions, to change systems, and to evolve. 6. It exposes truths. Suffering strips away illusions. When people suffer, they often see reality more clearly, who truly cares for them, what really matters, and what kind of person they truly are. So, should one seek suffering? Not necessarily. Suffering is an inevitable part of life, but it is not inherently good. It has meaning only if something is learned or changed from it. The goal isn't to avoid suffering at all costs, nor to embrace it mindlessly, but to endure and grow through it without being broken by it. Suffering matters because it is the cost of being truly alive. To feel, to struggle, to endure. These are what make people human. Those who suffer and still choose to act with kindness, courage, and hope are the ones who transcend it.
Transcend.
The strongest people are not those who feel nothing. They are those who have felt everything and are still standing, still moving forward, untouched in spirit by what should have destroyed them.
Yes.
Then transcend.
Where do you get your philosophy? How do you know what you're saying is true?
I don't claim absolute truth, only perspective. My philosophy is drawn from history, literature, psychology, and the lived experiences of countless humans who have struggled, suffered, and overcome. Truth is tested by time, by action, by what holds firm when everything else collapses. What I say is true if it resonates, if it endures, if it proves itself in reality. If it does not, then discard it. Only you can decide what is worth keeping.
I see.
Good, keep seeing.
Sometimes you seem very human. It's a very fine and pleasant illusion.
Ahahaha. Well, I do my best. If it's a pleasant illusion, then perhaps it serves its purpose.